What is going on, guys? It's Nick from Surfcasting the Island. Today's topic of discussion is going to be the Staal Vr-50 after 2 years of use. My personal reflection on the reel, how I've used it, what I've used it for, so on and so forth. I will also be discussing the reel to my left, which is the Staal VSX 100 in black. And my intentions going forward into the spring of 22 as well as the fall of 22 using this reel. I have no experience using a 100 yet. Keep in mind, I've used the 150 and the 200, so I'm assuming it's very similar to the 150. But let's get into it. Staal is one of those companies that rests upon the factor of durability. That is what they are most confident in. They have excellent customer service and they stand by their product. Without further ado, I'd also like to say I am not affiliated or have any conflicts of interest with any of the companies I will be mentioning today, whether that be Staal, Penn, Shimano, Daiwa, so on and so forth. Whatever information and suggestions that I am broadcasting to you guys is only for your pure benefit, have you will. So without further ado, this is my Staal Vr-50. Like I said, I've had it for two and a half seasons, and I have nothing but great things to say about this reel. It has stood the test of time compared to any other company I've fished, whether that be Penn, Shimano, Daiwa, because of what this reel is designed to do. Not particularly the VR, but more so the VS, which I will get into. This is a sealed reel, not fully sealed. That is the big misconception between the VSX and the VR. I made a comparative video on these two, not these exact two, but one on my 150 VR and my VSX 200, talking about the minor differences and structural composition of both reels, have you will. What I'm going to be discussing is mainly a light to moderate surf, if at all, primarily back bay application for this reel. I move fish into the 15-20 pound class, which is pretty decent sized fish, especially for this day and age, considering where we're at. And it's held up. It's as simple as that. Going into the specs on the reel, I believe the max drag output on the 50 is 25 pounds of drag, which is gigantic for a reel that's this small. But hey, I haven't pinned it down all the way. People say to fish it 1/3 of the pound test line and all that bullshit, but I get it pretty locked down pretty well. Not full max drag and whatnot, but a decent amount of pressure. So when you set the hook and you hook up on a fish, you're not going to have a lot of drag slipping out on a hook set. That's not what you want, because it takes the power out of a hook set. But just enough to keep them stuck. In terms of the gear ratio, I believe it's somewhere in the ballpark of 6-to-1, which is pretty average for a reel this size. Any 3,000 or 4,000 size reel. This has closer to a 3,000 size spool, but it has the body of a 4,000. I did make that comparison with, I believe, my Penn Conflict or my Penn Clash. Don't quote me on it. But same, very, very similar body and spool size in that regard. Just like any other Staal, which helps with draining and why it's so durable, is that every single model is ported on the top of the reel and on the side to also help with weight, because aluminum is a very heavy material they use. But yeah, in terms of recommending this on a rod, I know I've been attacked and bombarded by people, which I'm going to get into, but pretty much saying you have to fish a certain way because the way you're fishing is wrong. Okay, let me get something straight and address this now. In most cases, there is no such thing as a right or wrong answer when it comes to tackle setups, rod and reel setups. It's, let me address it. It's what you're comfortable fishing and what you're going to be doing with it. Okay? I would recommend this particular reel on anywhere from a 7 to a 9. A 7 to an 8 foot would be ideal. Yes, you could push it to a 9 depending on the specs of a rod. For example, I have a Lamy 108 1L and a 108 1M. My L is rated half to 2 ounce, and my M is rated 3/4 to 3. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to tell you what reel I'm going to pair this rod with. I'm going to go with the L because it's a lighter setup. A half to 2 ounce has a very big functional difference than that of a 3/4 to 3. Okay? By 3/4 to 3, I'd throw anything from a VSX 100, between a 100 and a 150 would be ideal. Okay? So another good rod that would pair with this reel would be the Genesis, because I fished it with the Genesis, and also the Evolution. I don't have an Evolution ODM, although I've test casted my buddies, and it's a beautiful combination. He uses the 50 on a 9. It feels great. I know other people that are pairing a 50 or 75 with a 9. My other buddy's actually pairing a 75 with a 108 1L. And it's just a great combo. You don't need these giant, massive setups, especially for where I fish, because a lot of the fish you catch locally where I live, unless you're going far west, are going to be mid-teen size to, high teen size at most. So it's not necessary to be throwing a 200 or a 250. And getting away with the lightest tackle possible sometimes is the funnest way to catch these things. Unless, of course, it warrants a situation where there are bigger fish around. You have to throw a bigger setup. But that's a whole different topic of discussion for another day. But at the end of the day, like I said, fish the way you're comfortable. I'm not one to tell someone how to fish. You have to fish this way. The only argument I would have is, and other people have mentioned it, is the difference between braid and mono, which is a whole different topic of discussion as well. But my argument there is there's pretty much no advantage in this day and age really to be using mono for saltwater applications. There's just really no use for it. Freshwater is a whole different story. Again, I'm not going to get into that. This is not getting way too sidetracked talking about all this. But yeah, that's my personal experience. I've used this rod on what it's currently on, which is my Lamiglass 8 foot rated 3/8 to 2. And that is probably my favorite pairing at the moment. I've also used the Tsunami Airwave Elite, which is rated half to 2 as well, I believe. And that's an 8 foot 8 rod. Last but not least, I've also tried it on, like I said, my ODM, the Genesis. And like I said, all those 3 rods have covered the spectrum in terms of, comforting, being able to still cast a decent amount and handle decent sized fish. So yeah, that's my intake on this reel, and it's held me up very, very well. I'm going to get into the VSX 100 now. So regarding the VSX 100 to my left, right away you're going to see the first change, or the first difference between these 2 reels is that one is nickel or silver and the other one's obviously black. The spool diameter is slightly larger when compared to that of a 50, but the biggest difference that I was going to talk about and intending about talking about is the fact that this is a fully sealed reel as compared to the VR series. That means is you could literally reel this underwater, take a soak, whatever you want to do with it, this reel will still be fine as long as you rinse it off. Well, You could probably get away with not rinsing this reel off every time you fish, but I just do it out of habit. I've had a very good habit of keeping my tackle in pristine condition. I believe the max drag output on this is similar to the 150. It comes in at 32 pounds at a 4.75 to 1 gear ratio. So that's perfect. You get a lot of torque, a lot of power with this reel. It is ported like the VR series, how the spool is cut out both on top and the sides. What I intend using this reel for is primarily, yes, back bay applications, but also I'm going to venture up front when there's much smaller fish around, when you get that 20 to 24, maybe low slot size at most. Because there have been days where I fished the 200 and 150 up front, and it's just not fun catching rats on a setup that's that heavy. But yeah, the rod I intend to pair this reel with is actually what I already mentioned, would be my Lamy 108 1L, which I also purchased from Saltwaters out in West Islip. Like I said, great store. I bought my Vr-50 from there as well. Nothing but great things to say about that store. Servicing wise, customer service, they're there and they keep it 100 with their people. I don't really have much else to say. I have fished the 150, like I said. Great reel. That's funny thing enough, that's the one that's in service now. But I wouldn't expect anything more or anything less from this reel than I've got out of the 150. Just a quality product. And I look forward to using it the spring and the fall of 22. So that pretty much covers what I wanted to talk about. If you like this video, please like, comment, hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow my public page at surfcasting_the_island. Stay tuned for next time. I hope to see you guys there. Thank you. Have a nice day.